So I realized I need to immediately cut my work by 90%. So I did that overnight, and 90% of my income was gone along with that. But I needed to be your dad first, and I knew exactly what I was doing and why I was doing it.
Hey guys, welcome to Keep On Pushing Stories, where we tell you, real life stories of motivation, of inspiration, because we know you can relate and we want to inspire you to be your best. And today I'm really excited to welcome my friend Jeff Spencer to Keep On Pushing Stories. Jeff, welcome, bro.
Thank you so much, Devon. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, so it's always good to catch up with you, my man. Tell us or tell the audience, I already know, what it is that you do. How do you serve? How do you bring value to your clients?
Well, thanks for the opportunity. Well, first and foremost, I help high performers in sports, entertainment, and in business get to the top of their game and stay there. And I do that by ongoing conversations where we, first off, I use a method I call DARE. The D stands for data. We look at everything that makes up their world. Then the A stands for analyze it and figure out what does all this mean. Then the R stands for roadmap. We create a roadmap, which is their personal path forward. And then the E and DARE stands for execute. How are we going to execute this? And as we continually go through that progression there, we're able to get them to the top of their game to create their most important legacy possible. And that's what I do.
That's amazing. And so I dare you tell us, how would someone find you?
The best way to find me is to go to the link www.beforeyouwin.com, BEFOREYOUWIN.com. And there will be a couple things that they'll get as a gift from me to look at that will help them understand what the process is to go from where they are to where they want to be. And then there's also an application. If someone would like to have a conversation with me, they can fill out the application. I'll get right back to you and we'll make that happen.
All right, cool. So, my man, I am really curious. Let's get down to business now. I want to know, Jeff, your keep on pushing story. I want to know of a time when you had to overcome a significant challenge, setback, hurdle, or a time when you had to push yourself out of your comfort zone to go accomplish something amazing. So, please do tell us.
Well, one thing that we share in common is that we were both Olympians and we both know the time and effort that it takes to become an Olympian. But I actually have to say that what I'm going to share with you is the hardest thing I've ever done. Actually, the Olympics was easy compared to this. My wife and I decided that we were going to pursue an adoption because we weren't able to have our own child. And I was 58 at the time, believe it or not. And we adopted a 10-year-old girl from Colombia. And just the process in and of itself takes a couple of years just to get to the starting gate. And then when we brought her back to the United States after having lived with her in Colombia for 6 weeks to then kind of take a test drive where we all voted, do you really want to do this or not? When we got back to America and she became a dual citizen, American citizen and a Colombian citizen, I talked to my wife and I said, well, this is what we have to deal with here. Number one, she doesn't speak any English and we don't speak any Spanish. So exactly how are we going to talk and communicate here? And she had no school in Colombia because in rural Colombia, why do you need to go to school? There's no reason to go to school because education isn't required for anything, basically. And she had severe PTSD and ADHD from the severe unrelenting physical and emotional trauma that she had for her first 10 years of undescribable harm. She had a parasitic ridden body. Little abdomen was just distended from all the parasites and everything. And it's like, this is what we have chosen consciously to take on. And I can see right now that to be her father, we adopted her. She didn't adopt us. And, me being kind of a Olympic gold medal intent, not going to go for a bronze medal father medal either. It's going to be gold medal or nothing.
Hmm.
And so I realized I need to immediately cut my work by 90%. So I did that overnight, and 90% of my income was gone along with that. But I needed to be your dad first, and I knew exactly what I was doing and why I was doing it. And it was so difficult because of the trauma that these older kids bring with it. The behavior difficulties are, should I say, almost insurmountable, because most people that did what we did, they give the child back at the end of a year because they can't take it. Just the lying, the deceit, the treachery, the complete disregard for any human decency is so disruptive. And then the parents get divorced because it's so traumatic. And um, we did not do that to be able to be the parents that my daughter needed. We had to have like almost a full-time staff of teachers, psychologists, doctors, soccer coaches, and everything else to do what had to go right to try to catch her up. Well, none of us spoke the language. Everything was like, this means don't talk, this means eat, this means sleep. I mean, that's how it all started. And when you're dealing with a child that doesn't want to get along, that wants to make life difficult, that wants to be oppositional, it's like hell incarnate in a certain sense, because it's so difficult. But because I'm who I am, and Olympians don't crack easily, and I was used to dealing with that in my advisory, working with very precocious, talented athletes, and having to address difficult things with them in terms of how they see the world and what they need to do to get to the top of their game and stay there. I was sort of used to dealing with difficult personalities, and so with that, it took everything that we had for literally, let me put it this way. My wife cried every day for 9.5 years. It was that difficult. Literally 9.5 years, she cried her eyes out because it was so hard. So for me, I had not only to be my wife's husband and deal with that, which is gut wrenching in and of itself, but I had to be my daughter's father simultaneously, which took the patience of Job times 1,000, and never making a bobble and being consistent. But then I had to be the person that my clients deserved as well. Even though I was working with limited clients, they were still at the level of play that I was used to. And what was happening in my personal life was none of their business, but it also should have no impact on my servicing them, because our job was to help them, not use my personal circumstances as a consideration for anything.
Right.
So, that I can honestly tell you, at the end of 10 years, I felt pulverized and beat up. I mean, I had PTSD for sure, just because of the trauma, the incessant trauma. I mean, the objective was, let's just get through a day. Don't
Right.
worry about anything else. Whatever it takes to get through a day, just do it. And I spent every ounce of money that I had to do whatever it took to keep things moving, to fight really hard on my daughter's behalf, to give her the chance to move 1 millimeter forward in her life, to get beyond the inhuman life that she lived that she didn't ask for. Somebody had to be an advocate for that, and that was going to be me, because that's the role that we decided to play in it. And we didn't really know how difficult it was going to be, because we didn't really get information that wasn't archived by the rural Colombian authorities. And we learned that she was kidnapped from her parents and put into child services uh, because of the behavior of her parents and what was happening in the neighborhood to my daughter and to her little sister and siblings. And so to go into elaborate detail, it was just a battle and a war every second of every day, for me to take the high road. And I had to ask myself continuously, what's the one thing that has to go right in this moment? And that's all I dedicated myself to for 10 years, without any guarantee that there would be any type of
Hmm.
change later, because sometimes these kids, they don't change. It's like, that's the way they are forever. And so, here we are now, 11 years later, and I'm proud to say that, she will be graduating from college uh,
Yeah,
in a
that's pretty
couple of
awesome.
months.
Yeah,
And
congrats.
she's, just an amazing kid. But I guess the more important side of this is that, you know, what did we learn from this experience that's worth looking at? And what's the lesson here, or the lessons that I've learned from this, um, which I'd be more than happy to kind of share here. It's, it's one thing to get through it, but I think the how you did it's the other side of it. So if I may, if I could just,
Sure, of
unless you
course.
have some details about, the journey, I'll also say this: we never took a vacation in 10 years
Hmm.
because we couldn't, because she was too unruly. She's too wild, to make that happen. And
I
so
guess the one question I would have here, because what you tell me is
yeah,
just it's riveting, to say the least. When you were spending the 6 weeks with her, did you not get any inkling, or you just went, you know what, we signed up and we're in?
that's a really good question. I mean, the only reason why we did it, and I could actually do it in all conscience, because first off, we weren't willful about gender or age. We wanted to be the right parents for the right child. That was our prayer. And so with that, there wasn't a question. And in some of the correspondences that happened before we go to actually spend and meet her and take custody of her for the 6 weeks trial, there were some things there that told me that her light bulb was on. Like, this is a kid, she's got a bright light.
Hmm.
And it's like, I really trusted her spirit, not because I wanted to, not because I wanted to have it the way I wanted it to be, but I really asked myself the question, should we adopt her or not? And it kind of kept back, yes. And I could see that there was a side to her, that she was really sweet and that she was really intelligent. I mean, as crafty as they come, for sure.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt at the end of the day, my decision wasn't a pro and con list. Of course, you go through that, but at the end of the day, there's got to be kind of a soul to soul accounting for this, and
Hmm.
it was, yeah, you got to do it. And so I've always followed that because I know how that speaks to me. So I did that faithfully and with continued belief that because of that, we'd find our way beyond this. And I guess that is one of the lessons that, there are certain times where everything is about as dark as it can get, where there's no light at the end of the tunnel for the foreseeable future, if ever. But you have to go back to, well, why did you do this then? And if, like we said, we know why we did it. We wanted to be the right parents to the right child. Is this the right child? I believe so. Why? Because I have a calmness about this, and I see that there's something about her that now has these layers on top of it. But if we can get through the layers, then that can emerge. And I
Hmm.
really saw who the real her, like, really was. So again, I was intellectually aware of the risks. And, a lot of people thought I was crazy. It's like at 58, the top of your game, look at all these people that you're working with
Yeah.
and the life that you're living. You actually want to say goodbye to 90% of that to adopt a kid that is older and has this traumatic past. Are you crazy? And it's
Hmm.
like, well, maybe I am, but it's like I'm called to this, not for my own sake to try to show everybody how great I am or how loving I am, but it's like I'm truly called to this. And it's like I'm okay with that. It's kind of like the Olympics called me to it. I didn't just pursue it because I wanted to. I mean, I was, called to it and showed up for duty for it. So,
And there's not much that's more powerful than having a purpose, man.
there's not. Yeah, for sure. It's like, if you have purpose and you have a reason to get up, and if you have a reason to get up, then your life is better than 99% of the people out there. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, the answer to that is it was a calling. And what I'll say too, just about the idea, what did I learn from this, is that, you have to trust something. And if you can't trust yourself, but you can only trust other people's opinions, and you're not going to be very confident in life. And I was very clear that, we were called to this. And when I asked the question about it and petitioned to get the answer for it, it was clear that, you kind of need to follow through on this, even though you don't know where this is going to go, which I did. But I
Mhm.
knew that that was an asset. The other things that I learned is that you can love anybody. It's like you don't need a special reason to show up. This isn't like you give to get. This isn't like where you barter from it for it. Like, okay, I'll do this if I get this. It isn't like that. It's like you
Yeah.
either decide to step into it or not. It's
Mhm.
like if you step into it, don't half step into it. You have to step into it and give it everything you got to honor the calling, and which we did. You can love anybody. You just decide you're going to do it. There doesn't need to be this extravagant feeling or whatever. It's more about like, what are we doing for them without an expectation of anything in return? There are no contingencies on this. It's like, I didn't barter with God. Like, okay, we'll adopt this kid and you give me good favor later. Forget that. That's not fair. That's not fair, man. That's off the table.
Yeah.
And so, the other thing that I learned about this, that you've got to trust the process, and you work with what's in front of you. And as long as you know why you're there and you have an instinct for it, and you have a reason to get up and you're clear on it and it's the right motive, and you know that, then you just have to trust the process, that eventually you're going to hit critical mass where something will change for the better, that confirms to you that you did make the right decision. And that did prove to be the case. It just took almost a decade to get there. But there
Mhm.
were little glimpses along the road that I could tell that she was still listening, her behaviors and things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Indeed. So
you
yeah,
know,
man, trust in the process, and I love what you said. You can love anybody, and
yeah,
I wish this is a lesson that all of us across the board need to learn, in not just in the society but across the world. You
yeah,
can love everybody, and if we do that,
100%.
we live in such a much better world.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say, to go along with that, another thing that I learned is that you always uh, like hold out the possibility for a miracle. You never cave on that one. Never,
Mhm.
never.
Yeah,
You never discount the possibility of a miracle. You may not see how it's going to be possible, but that's not our business. You know, our business is to show up and keep turning the pedals and do what you got to do to just stay in the game. And you
yeah,
never give up the possibility of a miracle. And we did have one when our daughter, graduated from high school. It's like, nobody in her family ever graduated from elementary school.
yeah,
It was like nothing, So with that, it's like, what? There's a chance here. And I saw that she was a bright kid. Even when she took the entrance exams to school, because she wanted to go to school immediately, she missed every question on every test because she didn't speak English. She couldn't read the question. So what are you going to do?
yeah,
But she did get 100 on, she got on, what do you call that? Critical thinking. And I could tell that she was really a bright kid and really had situational awareness and did have a soft heart. But there was just this, veneer of betrayal from her
right,
family and her country, heaped on top of her, that it made life, raw for her. And
yeah,
so, the other thing I'll say too is that, you never know when the breakthrough is going to come. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other. You just never
yeah.
know, and if you quit, the breakout may be the next step that you take.
It
So you
could
don't
happen.
do that. You
Right.
show up, you just keep putting one freaking foot in front of the other, and you don't give up. You have your metrics, you look at the metrics, you conserve your energy, you conserve your resources, you do whatever you can. Another thing I learned is that you don't hold on to anything that you think that you may need for tomorrow if you got to use it up today.
Yeah.
Got to have explicit trust and faith in today. And if you got to go all in today and you don't know where tomorrow is going to come from, go all in today. Don't try to hold on to something for later if you need to exercise it now. That's not
Yeah.
safety. That's I'm not going to say cowardice exactly, but that's not living, a faithful life uh, that leads to the strength that we can possibly gain from this, and the value that we can do in being the parent that the person deserves to be.
Indeed. Yeah, man, powerful story, powerful
Yeah,
testimony, amazing lessons. I love them. You can love anyone.
totally.
One foot, that's that one of my mantras, man, one foot in front of the other. It doesn't matter how bad it is. If you do that,
That's right.
the miracle will come. So, my
Yeah.
friend, thank you for sharing that story. Thank you for
You're
the
so
amazing.
welcome.
We know somebody's going to benefit from that. So, guys, if you find this valuable, and I can't imagine you wouldn't, please leave a comment below. Please hit that subscribe button. And just as importantly, share it. Share it because somebody else will be inspired by this amazing story. Thank you again for joining us and keep on pushing. As always, keep on pushing.